Hey guys, another video here. This time we're doing Winter Orb. My last video was covering the new buffs for golems. I got that in the configs over here with like 230% increased effect, which shouldn't be too hard to get. And I also have the Winter Orb buffs. These are just real ballpark numbers. I think it's going to be even stronger than what these configs are listing here. But so I think Winter Orb is still going to be pretty squishy, especially as elementalist. Not like paper, but not going to be a real tanky class. We are getting the 66% increased defenses from Stone Golem, which is pretty good for energy shield. For mapping, we got like 11k Fizz max hit. This is just early maps. 41k elemental. DPS is around 4 million, which is really good. Not sure how accurate this is, but should be, I don't know, ballpark should be somewhere in the range of the ballpark. But yeah, Winter Orb previously wasn't a very good skill. You had to do a lot of investment. It was playable, but you needed really good gear in order for it to feel decent. Hopefully these changes will make it feel playable. I guess not more than playable, pretty good. And then maybe even league start worthy. It's on my list of things to league start. But yeah, so in this POP, we have a bunch of different loadouts. So I put some stuff in the notes section. The route you should follow. Start with leveling, maps, and then endgame. That's a recommended route. There's 2 branches for the endgame. 2 different branches. These ones have more expensive gear by a good margin. But once you get to that point, you should be able to clear all content with these setups. The Uber bosses might be tough because the defenses aren't like amazing, but it should be doable. For the branch endgame crit setup, 50 mil DPS. Max hits are decent. Then the tankier one, 30k max hit. Physical, 170 elemental. And then the Giga setup, the gear in here is pretty crazy. Actually, I forgot to list that. Let me type that in real quick. So yeah, Giga is a little less tanky than the other ones with a little more damage. But yeah, I think most people aren't really going to get to this point. The gear in here is pretty insane. I think most people will stop at one of these endgame branch setups. But yeah, so that's the progression you should probably take, especially for league start. I think people should just go from leveling to endgame. and then look at these endgame branches later on. So yeah, I'll try and go over pretty quickly the some of the just like general things about each loadout. So for the leveling one, I'm not sure how strong Winter Orb is going to be. It should be playable at least in the campaign, but if it's not, I listed a bunch of other options that you can swap to with the same skill tree. Also, cold damage over time looks pretty strong. They buffed it, and I think they're adding some more passives on the tree for it. So once the new tree comes out, I can update the POB. But yeah, I think no matter what, at least one of these skills, one of these setups is going to feel decent. But yeah, I think that's about all I want to go over for the skills. For the leveling stuff, it's pretty much just junk equipment. Nothing fancy here. The tree. Important things on the tree: elemental overload. This fire mastery. There's a lot of damage early on. This caster mastery is pretty important. Well, cold mastery too. Important. Once we get the mastermind of discord. Oh, I should probably put ascendancy order on there. Yeah, so I added the ascendancy order. It's going to be Legion of the Primordial, Mastermind of Discord, Shaper of Flames, and then Heart of Destruction. But yeah, I think that's, actually change that for leveling. That's about all for the leveling. We'll move on to maps now. So by this point, you should have a 5 or 6 link. These are listed in order of priority. So if you only have a 5 link, you can just get rid of hypothermia. But yeah, Winter Orb should feel pretty good by now. Got the auras. If you're running out of gem slots, I listed everything's in order of priority pretty much. So you'll just get rid of the gems that are lower in each category. You should try and have at least the top gems for each category. Rearrange those a little bit. But yeah, there's the gems. We're reserving notable things. We're reserving some life here. So we can run Pain Attunement. And it's not going to feel too bad. You should definitely, I put it in the notes, but you shouldn't switch. You shouldn't do that until you have Chaos Res up to 75. So, but once you get there, it'll feel pretty good. It's a good damage boost. Let's see. Okay, so for items, these wands are pretty strong. You probably won't be able to get something that looks exactly like this until red maps, I would say. Everything else should be pretty. Yeah, so I have a swap on here. Actually, these aren't correct. Let me fix these. Okay, so these should be relatively cheap. Shade of Solaris. Nice a swap until you can get these wands, something like these. And then the most important mods on this wand is the cast speed and the cold spell or all skill gems, and then the having an open prefix to craft on. But yeah, the rest of the gear should be pretty simple. Just like energy shield gear with some life and some res. With open suffix to craft on. Amulet shouldn't be too hard to get. There's other options as well for amulets. Mostly you just want the cast speed and the life, plus gems is really nice too. But yeah. And then for jewels, we really want this cluster. This is very important. Doriani's lesson. Any cluster with Doriani's lesson, pretty much. For the life leech. You can also get life leech on the gloves with the boss currency, Searing. Actually, no. Eater of the World's currency. But yeah, if we compare the trees, so for the mapping tree, there's quite a bit of respecking to do. This might be a bit confusing. Let's switch it over. Yeah, so right now we're on the leveling tree, and we're getting rid of the red and adding the green to activate the mapping tree. But yeah, there's a bit of respecking to do for that. It's just more efficient to get these points. You don't have to do it all at once, but once you hit like a certain amount of skill points, you will want to swap over. Okay, well, I'll move on to the endgame setup. Stop comparing. The tree doesn't look too much different this time. There's not a ton of respecking, just more skill points and better clusters and a timeless jewel. Running the trader for flask charges. You don't have to do that, but I think it feels pretty good. You can get almost permanent uptime for these flasks. And the belt doesn't need any charge recovery or anything. If you do get a charge recovery belt, then you can probably have 3 or 4 flasks on there. But yeah, the clusters. We got our life leech one, very important. The other one's just damage. Going over items first this time. Wand is pretty similar to our other one. More cast speed. Just more of everything on there. Ravenous Passion helmet. Not sure how hard it'll be to get one of these. It's a very good helmet. If you can't get one of those, you can just go for a Lich's Circlet instead. You'll be tankier with the Circlet. Lose a bunch of damage though. And the rest of the gear, or these ones, energy shield. A lot of energy shield and res. Gloves have a life, energy shield, focus craft. The combo, there's a combo between the amulet, the boots, and the ring. It's the ailment stacking combo. Enemies take 10% increased damage for each ailment. And then deal more damage for each ailment. So we're getting Scourge from the boots, Shock from the helmet, or from the amulet, sorry. Ignite from the Ascendancy. So we're applying 4 ailments. Chill, Shock, Ignite, and Scorch. Makes this amulet very strong. So that combo is ramping up our damage pretty high for not too much investment. I'd say the endgame is the most efficient tree for pushing your damage for a little currency. But yeah, ring just chaos res, generic stats on there. Same with the belt. Jewel. There's a grand setup in here, grand spectrum setup. You don't need these. They are very strong, but you can just get more ES life, and then some other third stat like cast speed or attributes, something like that on one of these jewels. I have a bunch of different ones in here. Here's one. But yeah, grand spectrums could be too expensive, so you can just use generic jewels instead. Another important point for the endgame setup is getting your max fire res to 90 so you can run Righteous Fire. It's a huge damage boost and defensive boost. A lot of our damage taken is going to be physical converted to fire through the new Shaper of Flames. Make sure this is wrong. That should be Shaper of Flames. Let me change that real quick. Okay, I fixed that. So yeah, this is actually not really calculating that well on the POP. It affects your effective hit pool, but it's not showing your physical max hit will go up as long as the enemy's ignited. By a pretty large amount, so it's not really showing us our full physical damage tankiness here. But yeah. So we'll move on to skills. Winter Orb. I didn't cover this yet, but I read that you need 2.6 AoE to hit the 5 overlaps with greater multiple projectiles. Now let's see. So we're at 2.4 right here. With convergence. Without convergence, it'll go up to 2.6. So the DPS is going to be a little off because of that. But good enough, in my opinion. We do have a couple of awakened gems in here. If you can't get either of these, you can swap them out for their counterparts. And maybe even swap Attic Cold for hypothermia. That'll be something to plug in. Winter Orb's damage effectiveness went up by a lot. 20% from the patch notes, so added damage is going to be more effective. Once the new POP comes out, I can edit this POP and fix everything up. But yeah, so there's a lot of skill gems in here. Also, I forgot to mention that I mentioned golems, but they're disabled in the skills, which might be confusing because the config is using the buff, but you're going to be running 4 golems on this build. These 4. So if you're running out of gem slots, once again, just these are in order from in each category. it's the most important to least important. You should at least get the most important ones on this bottom area. And then this one, choose one or none of. If you have any questions about the skill gems, just post a comment, but I tried to explain it in here a little bit. But yeah, so the reservations are pretty important. You can adjust the level of vitality and precision based on your remaining mana. This is a very important setup right here. You won't be able to do this. No, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. We were on Endgame. Okay. So back to Endgame. Arrogance and Herald Vice, very important. Reserves your life, which enables the pain attunement, more damage. And then curses, very important. Righteous Fire. Yeah, so that's about all for the skills. And I think that's about all for our endgame setup. With this setup, you should be able to do all bosses besides the Ubers, I think. You might even be able to squeeze out some Ubers on this setup if you're really good mechanically. So yeah, for the next ones, these are like the endgame setups. I might add some more of these. Depending how much more I want to brainstorm. These ones you should be able to do the Ubers on. I won't go in depth on the mechanics of each of these. Feel free to ask questions in the chat about any of these. I guess I can go over the notes at least, though. These burst button flasks are, if you activate all three of these, it's like double your damage with Dying Sun, and then like another 70% damage with those two. So these will really push your DPS up there. But you don't have to use these. If you like burst button playstyle, then use them. Otherwise, you can forget them. Any other notes? Oh yeah, if you're using the focus helmet, this is something I mess up sometimes. Is this build using it? No. So this build, Endgame Tank Gear, has the focus helmet. Make sure you have enough mana, unreserved mana, to trigger all four of these. Just look at the costs, and if you're running punishment, make sure it's at level 20 or 21 to give you the true cost. And you will adjust vitality or precision or clarity to give yourself some more mana. And then, because I add one more note, I'll add more notes if there's other questions, and I'll put them in here. But if stuns are getting annoying, you can allocate the 50% of your energy shield is added as your stun threshold, and you'll get rid of this caster mastery. I'm not sure how that's going to feel yet. I just allocated things based on what looks best in the POB. So we'll have to adjust things on the league start based on what people think. But yeah, this last one here, Infinite Currency, it's mostly just a show off POB of items that you can get. It's not really people can get this stuff, but it's not really gonna. You gotta be really rich. Like, it has the Sublime Vision, Purity of Fire tech, which converts all of your cold and lightning damage taken to fire. Mage Blood, which isn't too bad to get these days. It's got a Megalo. This one shouldn't be too bad to get. But yeah, I guess the Sublime Tech is the only really unattainable thing. You don't need these exact items in there. But you can see the tankiness. You can actually be tanky on any build in the game with this setup. It's just an insane combo of items. So this was mostly just to show off PLB. I'll fix the skill tree and jewel real quick. Okay. Yeah, so that's about all I got for this video. It was kind of long. I went over in more detail than I was expecting to. I'm not done with Winter Orb. I will be adding to the POP, possibly some different loadouts, adjusting things, and adding to the notes section as people figure stuff out. But for now, that's going to be all. If you guys have any concerns or comments, just leave them in somewhere I can reach them, and I'll address them as soon as possible. Yeah, so thanks for your time, and next video is going to be Golem effect stacking. I'm excited about that, and possibly after that something to take advantage of all the different golems. So yeah, thanks everyone, and talk to you later.